What became so popular at your school that the teachers had to ban it? Story 1. Rubber bands. Kids weren't even using them to shoot at other kids or otherwise misbehave with them. Kids would buy packs of rubber bands, tie the rubber bands together, making like a big rubber band chain. It became a contest to see who could get a chain of rubber bands to stretch the farthest. You couldn't find a pack of rubber bands at a store for probably 20 miles. This was when I lived in a small town, so there weren't a ton of stores in that 20 miles. Amazon, or even public internet access just didn't exist yet. One kid got so many rubber bands, they could stretch it the length of the school building. While stupid, I didn't think it was a bad hobby, as kids weren't shooting them or shooting stuff with them. It was all about how big of a chain they could make. School rewarded our pointless creativity with a ban on rubber bands at the school. All rubber band chains were confiscated on site. Sounds like the perfect build-up for a senior prank. Rubber band chains blocking all the doors and hallways, almost like webs crossing the halls between the lockers. Right? Combine forces and wrap the school with them. Story 2. I was in high school when cell phones finally became accessible enough for most people to have one. It took about a week of senior year for them to declare that no phones were allowed anywhere on school property. Same for my class. But now kids literally have theirs out at the desks using them, and the teachers are compliant. Yeah, the handbook still says no phones allowed, but that's just not a thing anymore. Kids are usually respectful enough not to use them when the teacher is lecturing, but after the lesson is done, they're all out. Hallways, everything. Our class president freshman year ran on making them allowed during lunch, and that turned into they're allowed at all times. By junior year, we became a tech-friendly campus, and now we have school Wi-Fi, and you're allowed to bring in any device you want. Laptop, tablet, whatever. Story 3. The kid that started a tuck shop out of his locker. Went to a wholesaler, bought some stuff, sold it, used the profits to buy more, repeat and repeat. Until he's now staffing a child guard to stop shoplifting, and renting other people's lockers for stock overflow. Our classroom just became kids queuing to buy sweets and energy drinks. Sometimes a line so long in 15 minutes, he couldn't get everyone waiting served. Then, bam, banned. No selling anything on school property. Pretty much just aimed at this kid. Dude ended up stabbing someone, got expelled. No idea where he is now, but I think his shop getting banned and being replaced with an overpriced, healthy staff-run tuck shop squashed his entrepreneurial spirit. This is the most welcome-to-the-real-world life story on here. Young up-and-comers have great ideas. Big company comes in, steals the idea, and profits from it. That's unfortunate. Story 4. When I was younger, we played this game where you'd draw a circle on your hand, and other people would try to draw a line inside of it. If someone was able to draw a line in your circle, then you were out. The objective of the game was to be the last one standing. It was small at first, but eventually almost everyone in my grade became involved, and it spiraled out of control. Chaos. Pure freaking chaos. Kids were tackling each other, running away from other students, disrupting lessons, etc. Teachers eventually began to talk to us about how far our game had gone, and started banning it altogether. It was fun while it lasted, boys. Reminds me of a really cool battle royale our school did during a school trip. We often had trips with the entire school, so it was classes 7 through 12, approximately 200 people. Everyone got a small letter with the name of a different student on it. You had to give that person an item, any random stuff. All that was important was that the item exchanged hands from you to said student, willingly. If you managed this, said student would have to give you their name. The students with the most name letters at the end of the week would get a prize. Best game ever. So much paranoia, so much fake friendliness. For example, someone gave out some sweets. Everyone took one. Suddenly he was like, frick yeah. The entire point of giving everyone sweets was to get that one person who was in his vicinity to take one. If anyone asked you, hey, want to have a bonbon? Everyone was like, nope, forget it, because they thought it was a poor attempt at them. I also remember having a letter suddenly come through the door addressed to me that said, come to this in that room at this time. And when I arrived, it was my best friends who called themselves the Dark Brotherhood and made a plan where we would exchange letters to better plan our targets. I love how an innocent game can manifest secret societies amongst children. Story 5. Gel pens. When I was in primary school, there was this weird trend where all the girls would suck on the ends of gel pens so their tongues turned into different colors. They would trade pens with each other in the school bathrooms and sneak away from the teachers and go to hidden parts of the schoolyard so they didn't get caught. It was the closest I can think of compared to a drug ring, but imagine it with 7-year-old girls. One of my friends was really popular because she was the girl who sucked on the most pens and would get caught in literally every class sucking on a different gel pen, and the teachers would always have to walk her out to the nurse as she'd make herself sick and throw up. They eventually banned them. I tried it once and spat it out immediately because it was nasty and tasted like ink. Duh. I didn't get it then, and I still don't get it now. The girl who sucked on the most pens and would get caught in literally every class sucking on a different gel pen. Same, but not with gel pens. Story 6. Am a teacher. A few years ago, we had to ban applause. The kids would randomly start a round of applause and just keep going. It was unnerving. It was disrupting lessons, assemblies. Sometimes they would applaud in the dining hall or corridors. Still don't know how this trend started or why. The other thing we had to ban was pilgrimage. They apparently learned the word in religious studies lessons. After that, they would, in large groups, walk from one end of the school to the other, chanting pilgrimage, and basically knocking over anything or person that stood in their way. Story 7. Putting condoms on everything. Pens, people's heads, their actual heads, arms, bags, shoes, smartboard remotes, baseball bats, clocks, balls, like playing balls, literally anything. The best bit was that the school gave out free condoms. They were fueling the opposition. After a week, there was a ban on condoms being out in public. Anyone seen with a condom that wasn't in their bag or blazer was immediately given detention. In my college, there was someone brought in to hand out condoms to people. Over the next few days, Tide condoms filled with water kept appearing across a few of the bathrooms. Story 8. In elementary school, my class was divided into 2 groups, penguins and rats. We would always go to our group for team assignments, for games, for anything really. Somehow an actual rivalry started to sprout until the whole school was divided in these 2 groups, with first and second years getting into actual fights and stuff. Pretty soon the principal canceled recess for a day and went to each classroom to tell us the penguin team and rat team were banned. Others did create some smaller animal-named groups after that, but they all dissolved pretty quickly. Your elementary school literally created gangs. Grand theft education. Story 9. Camo colors. They somehow banned it school-wide because they were gang colors. Camo gang. Edit. I went to high school in the southeast Columbus, Ohio area. Half wannabe rednecks, quarter wannabe hood, and quarter preppy kids. It was a dumb mix. And for the record, so many people complained the school actually had an assembly over it where they explained their reasoning, and I don't remember exactly what they said, but it had something to do with gangs. I think it was gang mentality or something. Story 10. I was in middle school from 2009 to 2011. Balloons Tower Defense was huge. Everyone played it in any room that had a computer. The school had to install special blockers, but people kept getting around them, so they straight up banned Adobe Flash. Someone at my high school managed to install Quake 3 Arena onto the central server, so it was able to be accessed by any computer connected to the network. There were kids in my web development class playing against other kids, having their study hall in the library on the other side of the school. Not sure if the administration ever found out, but the year after I graduated, they changed out all the Windows computers they had for iMacs. We did that exact thing with Unreal Tournament and Soldier of Fortune 1. So many days of LAN UT. This would have been around 99 to 2001, something like that. Story 11. Capri Suns. Kids were too stupid to figure out how to get the straws in, and teachers got tired of helping everyone. That's hilarious and sad. What's weird is Capri Suns were easy to puncture, but it feels like between 2005 to 2009, they suddenly became stupidly hard to puncture. Story 12. Rulers. Year 10 in high school, for whatever reason, someone decided to smack a guy across the head with a ruler. Then everyone went out and bought a ruler. Suddenly, everyone was a knight with a sword. Staff kept confiscating them, but rulers are cheap, so kids just went out and bought them by the handful. They ended up banning rulers at a school. The kids who were taking geometry that year and needed them had to be assigned rulers at the beginning of class, and then turn them back in. If you rub the metal edge of a ruler against the sole of your shoe really fast back and forth, it gets hot enough to seriously burn someone and leave a scar. A kid did that to me back in 8th grade. Hurt like hell and left a mark that took a decade to fade. I was ticked off. Story 13. Hair flips. Circa 2003, long skater hair was very trendy. Said kids were flipping their hair out of their face and eyes, An 8th grade history teacher went on a vendetta under the reasoning that hair flips pollute the air with hair dirt. Kids started getting detentions. That's a really stupid pretense, but I can understand why the teachers got annoyed with a room full of kids flipping their hair like they have Tourette syndrome. My teachers in high school just mercilessly mocked the hair flippers until they knocked it off. The hair flippers discovered that it drove the teacher mad, so they began flipping it consciously to tick her off. She created her own monster. I whip my hair back and forth. I whip my hair back and forth. Story 14. We legit had half an hour lecture of assembly because our year apparently said sorry too often. I'm English. 3 hours and no one's made a Canada joke yet. Story 15. People bringing in their Game Boy Color and playing during recess. Kids were getting mad. They weren't getting turns, and they were afraid of someone stealing games. Freaking Jeremy found a copy of Pokemon Silver the day after mine was stolen out of my backpack. Can't get too mad at the kid though. His brother was thrown in jail for red rumming their mom about a year after that. Well, this escalated quickly. Story 16. Non-clear lunchboxes. Someone kept bringing booze into the school and started a whole trend. I think the only extreme thing in someone's lunchbox was that somehow an entire colony of ants had gotten in. Story 17. Slap bracelets. I remember in the 80s, early 90s when they got banned at my school, the rumor that went around school was that somewhere some kid had sliced their finger down to the bone with a cheap imitation slap bracelet. And now parents all over the country were pushing back. This is exactly the type of rumor I would expect from suburban moms. Story 18. Fortune tellers. You know, those paper origami ones. Those. Oh, and Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards too. Really? Wow. Nobody at my school knew how to make those. Everyone knew how to at mine, and I think the school probably banned them due to the amount of paper we wasted, to be honest. Story 19. Those little skateboards, tech decks, we used to trade them and cry over it. A butthole teacher took mine, said she'd give it back at the end of the day, and I never saw it back. I'll never forgive her. You don't frick with a kid's tech deck. Holy cow, that happened to me too. But when the teacher left the room one day, some kid went to her desk and stole everyone's stuff back. That just brought me back. Story 20. In 3rd grade, a few kids got obsessed with the words cheese, FedEx, and camel. They said them all the time, and those words got banned for the entire class. Very similar to something in my primary, there was a week that everyone started saying the catchphrase from adverts, and everyone had different ones. There were arguments about who would say what phrase. Story 21. I'm 60. When I was in 3rd grade, sunflower seeds were banned. I was told the teachers thought they were drugs. I think it was because they were both messy and counterculture, like hippie health food. Apparently, if you have enough poppy seeds, you can actually get a noticeable detection on a drug test. Story 22. Our school banned hoodies. Their reasoning was that people can wear their hoods up to help with intimidation. A lot of the guys responded by wearing hoodies the next day, with no shirts underneath, so they couldn't be told to take them off. Story 23. When I was in elementary school, in the late 90s, there was a fad where we would collect Absolute vodka and Milk Mustache ads in binders, similar to Pokemon cards. It was savage. Kids would bring in magazines by the dozen and just strip out the pages with the ads on it. School banned them because it was such a massive distraction. Why these specific ads? I'm going to say just based on how they looked. Milk Mustache ads always had some sort of celebrity on it, and Absolute Vodka ads always had the bottle on them and were pretty creative looking with the saying on the bottom, Absolute blank. So maybe Milk Mustache was to get every celebrity that did it, and Absolute was getting every different saying or bottle. Story 24. Pogs. Yep, we got the "it's a form of gambling" once a bunch of losers lost the pogs they bet and then complained about it. That's how it always goes. The losers' moms come to school and start threatening lawsuits over cardboard circles, and everyone's fun is over. Story 25. Coolmath.com was recently blocked at my school. Well, to be fair, about 90% of the site isn't actually math-related. Yeah, I'm especially sad because I was on day 67 of my Papa's Scooperia. Story 26. Pokemon cards. Pokemon was banned for being popular. Magic was banned for being satanic. Pokemon cards got banned at my school because they became an underground currency, and kids were having their cards stolen by bigger kids. It became a huge scandal built out of a bunch of incidents. I remember in the beginning, if you had a super rare card, you'd show it off to all your friends with pride. Towards the end of the Pokemon card craze, if you had a rare card, you'd keep that stuff secret and take it to the grave. If anybody found out you had a Chansey or a shiny Charizard, it'd make you a target, and it would probably be stolen within a week. Story 27. There was a kid in my high school who made probably around $500 in a month for making duct tape wallets. Administration found out, but didn't ban the wallets, just banned conducting business on school grounds. Someone went around school and sold his origami at 50 cents a piece. He'd get orders every day and then make them at home. Sounds like the school should support his entrepreneurship if it's more motivated students, assuming everything they're selling is legal. Story 28. Clackers. They were two small, hard balls on either end of a long string. You made them clack against each other, but the bullies would hit you upside the head with them instead. I am old. You didn't need a bully because you were perfectly capable of hitting yourself in the head. Came here to mention these. I'm old too. We're lucky we survived. Story 29. We are only allowed to have €2 for the bus. If a teacher that even cares caught you, the teacher would be allowed to take the money and keep it. This was changed due to making it a crime. One time a teacher took €75 from a student. Luckily, she was forced to give it back. What the frick is the reasoning behind that? What trouble could you get into with €2? I don't know how they got €2 specifically, but they probably wanted to prevent students from carrying enough money to buy drugs. Story 30. Warheads. It grew to such an issue with these sour candies, kids were organizing a black market where the kids with the highest allowance would buy them in bulk from the corner stores for a nickel each, distribute them to upperclassmen for a quarter each, who would turn around and sell them to the final consumer for 50 cents each candy. There was even a barrier to entry if you wanted in the business. You would have to eat 3 candies at once and not spit it out or throw up. Warheads are the real gateway into drug dealing. Story 31. There was a game called Get Down, Mr. President, where everyone in an area would put their fingers to their ears like the Secret Service, and the last person to do it would be tackled. It could start at any moment and would end up in a dog pile in the hall. I'm not going to lie, I'm in my 30s, and now that I know that's a thing, I'm starting that stuff at work tomorrow. Story 32. Acorns. My elementary schoolyard had several oak trees on it, and dumb butt kids would collect acorns and keep them in their desks. The problem was most of the acorns had worms in them, which then escaped into the classrooms. Story 33. In Sweden, we had this thing called böghög, translated to gay pile. As soon as someone was on the ground lying, everyone threw themselves on, making a pile of people. Okay, I'm hoping there's a Swedish person in the comments that can critique my pronunciation of böghög. I didn't even bother to look up the pronunciation because I was hoping I could rely on you guys to correct me. That being said, I love the Swedes, and here is my rendition of Happy Birthday in Swedish. Ja må han leva, ja må han leva, ja må han leva ut I 100 år. Ja vi ska han leva, ja vi ska han leva, ja vi ska han leva ut I 100 år. Hurrah! 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 And because there seems to be a friendly rivalry between the Swedes and the Norwegians, I've also learned the Norwegian Happy Birthday, which goes like this. Hurra för dig som filar ditt år, ja dig vill vi gratulera. Alla I ring omkring dig vi står och säger, nå vill vi marschera. Bucken icke när snu oss omkring, dansa för dig med hopp och sprätt och spring. Önskar dig jag vet alla goda ting och se mot vad vill du mera. Gratulera. Please critique that one as well, if there's any Norwegians in the comments. I will also be very curious to see how these ones are transcribed. And if there's any interest, I can upload a video of me playing guitar while singing both of these combined on my channel Brother Goose.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.